Hi again, Louise Edington, Wisdom Weaver, Cosmic Owl Astrology, your cyberpunk witch priestess of the stars. Hi to everybody, and thank you for all your lovely comments and for your thumbs up and your subscriptions. Keep it coming, it gets the videos more visible. But also, thank you to those little chihuahuas in the tiny chihuahuas in the tiny purses yapping. Your attention also brings any attention is good attention, basically. So keep it coming, whoever it is. I think it's weird. Bear with me, drop my cards. This is for the week beginning October the 26th. I'm actually having to record this so far ahead of time. I'm recording this on the 15th of October because I've got so much travel coming. And so I thought I would record back-to-back videos and schedule them, though. You're not going to get them all in one go. So just know that this was recorded ahead of time. And the funny thing is that because I just recorded the week before and then saw the news, and I was talking about all kinds of secrets and trash being revealed and thrown out. I saw the news that a load of Politico had found a load of texts between young Republicans that were so racist and horrific, and so talking about being ready to see people burn and all kinds of things like that. I knew it was all going to start coming out, and we still haven't, as I record this, we still haven't even got to the new moon when Virginia Giuffre's book is being released. But this is probably going to start happening everywhere, by the way. So, you know, don't think this is over. But on to the week beginning, as I said, the 26th. So, as usual, I will share the chart in a second, but here's a quick glimpse of the cards and we'll do the card reading at the end. We get the sun again. We just had the sun for the previous week. This is the Hermit. And then we get a lovely card, Ace of Cups. And I'm going to, we do have a first quarter moon in this week, so I am going to read the symbols for that, but they are symbols that I talked about in the video I did with my friend and colleague Dawn Hild on 6-degree Aquarius, which is the south node of the USA, because the first quarter moon is on that degree. So it's the same symbols, and it's this, what a huge time we're in. Okay, so I'm going to dive in and try and make this one a little bit shorter than the last one. And of course, I can't find my software, so bear with me. So October the 26th. All right, so share screen. Here we go. Sunday, October the 26th, begins the week. I'm not going to go over everything other than to say that Venus has reached 15 degrees of Libra, which is the middle point of a degree, another turning point. Black Moon Lilith will be, here she is, dipping into Sagittarius and back out again, joining the other three asteroid goddesses that moved in again, and the moon starts the week in the sign of Sagittarius. My Sagittarius stellium loves this, and I love that I'll be on the road as we do this, traveling. But anyway, now I'm away for like 10 days, I think, but I'll be on my phone and things a bit. So anyway, let's start with the aspects for the week. So as the moon finishes up its journey in Sagittarius, it makes a fire aspect, unbroken flow, trine to Chiron and Eris in Aries. That's very creative, but also Phoenix burning it down energy. And it's building because the moon is moving further away from the sun and energy is starting to pick up from what's being revealed. We still have that water grand trine revealing more and cleansing as well. And then the moon will square Saturn, always a bit of a reality check, always kind of like a hard stop. We're done, we're not doing this anymore, and bit of determination as well to change things. And then the moon will enter the sign of Capricorn at 12:53 p.m. Eastern on the 26th. And the moon will sextile Haumea over here and the sun over here, because they've just had their meetup, and this is regeneration, if you remember. So the moon in Capricorn will aspect this. This is the first major aspect after the Libra new moon on the 21st. So the moon is gaining light, action is picking up. The moon will lastly square Ceres. Again, another good look at how our needs have not been met and how we must meet our own needs moving forward. On to the 27th. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about, no, I'll talk about the other aspects first. So we have Vesta over here trotting along, sacred inner flame, also the state, and she makes a supportive sextile to talk to the hand asteroid Lilith, saying, no, we're not doing any more. And this happens to be on the moon and north node of a certain president, apparent president in this country. Okay, things are going to change. Told you. I know he appears to be Teflon, but there's too much going on. But it could also be around him. It could be the administration, right? But we keep finding out things, okay? And so then Ceres and Hecate, the way shower, they also make that fire trine. This is really about burning off the old and really kind of creating your new life in all ways. Then the moon will conjunct Pholus, cause and effect, Pandora's box, more things coming out of the box, I suspect. And then, I'm not going to talk about those aspects. Pallas Athena, well, these asteroids are moving faster actually. So Juno will then sextile Pallas Athena. This is sacred contracts. This is wise justice and strategy. Pallas Athena stationed direct at that 6 Aquarius mark, and where the first quarter moon is. Justice is coming, and the people are going to start rising up, I tell you. But also this is happening within you, of course, as well. And you are being given a huge opportunity to write a new story as well. So then Venus on October the 27th over here will make a lovely trine to Chariklo, who then stations direct. So Venus trines Chariklo at 8:15 p.m. and Chariklo stations direct at 8:51 p.m. And so this is very potent. This is pure creation. This is creating justice, creating harmony, creating a world more beautiful that we really want to see, and helping to weave that new story. Okay, so this is lovely. Okay, 28th. The moon will then come up and square off to Venus, and that is making a semi-sextile to that. You can see the moon is gaining even more light, right? But the moon will square off to Venus from Capricorn. That gives a sense of real determination to change things, okay, to throw out that trash and not go there again, not eat out of the trash anymore. And then Mars in Scorpio, remember Mars is the traditional guide for Scorpio, will perfect its water trine to Jupiter, but also then to Saturn. So we've still got this ongoing water grand trine. This will separate a bit as Mars and Mercury move on, but then the sun will join in as well. So there's a lot of cleansing and a lot of revealing. Okay, so if you think about the energy of water, what it does, it erodes and cleanses and reveals what was hidden underneath. Later on that day, the moon, still in Capricorn, will sextile Nessus. The buck stops here. I'm not going to go over all of these things again. But then the moon will come up and square Chiron and Eris. Those two are really working together to reveal the wound of identity individually and collectively, and also to shake tables up and fight for the outsider, but also where you've been left out. Okay, so in many ways. But the moon will also oppose Jupiter at the same time. So that's kind of a cardinal T-square that's very potent, very pushy. Jupiter's slowing down, change is coming, and a reminder again that we're on the waxing moon. So approaching that first quarter moon. Then I think that's all I'm going to mention, other than the fact the moon will get to the last degree of Capricorn at the end of this day and will be at the midpoint between Mercury and Neptune. This is really inviting us to focus on and create the structure for integrating both the left and right brain is really, I'm just going to say it like that. Yep. 29th. Okay. Now, the moon enters the sign of Aquarius. Will, of course, run that gamut of planets again, of the big change makers. Will trine Sedna and Uranus over here. Will conjunct Pluto, and will also trine Neptune. No, not trine Neptune, sorry. Will square off to Haumea. Okay, it made the trine to Neptune before it left Capricorn. But again, it's the new sense of things are changing and new beginnings coming now, faster and faster and faster. And we can start to really see the possibilities and the potential for co-creating this new future, right? So then Mercury will actually exact its trine, water trine to Neptune. Again, it's part of this great grand trine, more things being revealed. And then Mercury will move into the sign of Sagittarius. Mercury in Sagittarius, it's gonna be there for a long time because we have a retrograde. So I will quickly give you a heads up of that. Now then, first you might hear a lot of bullshit around on the internet about Mercury being in detriment in Sagittarius. No, I don't think any planet is in detriment in any sign. It just has different skills. It's more in alignment with the opposite sign, Gemini, but Mercury in Sagittarius can be a little bit blurty and speak before thinking, but it's also really fast and it thinks about the future. That's why it kind of blurts, because it's really fast, sees the truth fast, speaks the truth. Stop listening to that bullshit. Also, there's probably going to be quite a lot of bullshit about Mercury retrogrades, because Mercury retrogrades happen 3, sometimes 4 times a year. We have pre-shadow periods as well, where Mercury crosses the degree it will later station direct at. And so that's an awful lot of time to be fearing a retrograde. They are a time of review, reflection, all the R words, time to go back over some things, check some contracts. Yes, some technical things do happen sometimes in Mercury retrogrades. I've got some really hilarious stories, but they're all kind of sweating the small stuff. Okay. Anyway, so Mercury will go retrograde on November the 9th after getting to all the way to 6 Sagittarius. You can see that. And will go back into Scorpio. So it's not just a retrograde in Sagittarius, all right? And so this is going to revisit some of these secrets that have been revealed, but more on that later. Okay, so we'll go back to October 29th. And then, of course, Mercury will move back into Sagittarius and cross over all those degrees, and then we'll spend more time in Sagittarius. But that needs its whole extra video, and I'm not doing that yet. So that's Mercury. That's all to say that Mercury will move into Sagittarius, the sign of truth, the future, natural laws, wandering, philosophy, exploration of higher energies, religion sometimes. And then we've got the moon over here in Aquarius. And again, I am going to get this exact because I want you to see it. So the moon will square the sun. This is the crisis in action phase, first quarter opening up, time to take action on seeds planted on that 21-degree Libra new moon. That was on the 21st. Okay, so we're just 8 days later here. And here is the moon, right at 6 Aquarius, which is the south node of the USA. And this is the mother number, and this is going to bring real change. This is going to bring the people rising up more and more and more. I see it already happening, but this is big. And then Pallas Athena, the moon will then conjunct Pallas Athena, which is creative intelligence, but also strategy for the future. And this is about stuff that's being revealed with all the Scorpio energy that we have and have had. More and more and more is going to come out. So, but this is the action. This is time to take action on things. Because by this time, we're at the end of October. We've only got kind of just a few more weeks till all the outer planets have changed signs. Venus has disappeared behind the sun for ages. I talked about that in the last week's video, weaker forecast video. And this is really, time that things are going to start, people are going to start taking action more and more. They can't unsee things anymore. It's time to take the trash out. Then Mars over here will trine Saturn in Pisces. Again, it's that water grand trine, both revealing and cleansing and purging. And then one other aspect on this day is that because Mercury has moved into Sagittarius, feel my Mercury then, it's going to oppose Uranus. That is aha moments galore. This is awakening. This is eyes wide open, like going, I cannot unsee this anymore. And this is how I think we can radically change it. Okay. All right, wild times. Then October the 30th, near the end of the month, near Halloween. And the moon will come up and will conjunct Chariklo, weaving a new story, and asteroid Lilith, talk to the hand. And then the sun over here will actually make a water trine to Hygeia. So remember, Hygeia just stationed, I forgot to mention that, she stationed retrograde on the 29th, the day before. And this is potent. This is the 7 I've got on here, the most spiritual of numbers. And but this is helping us to heal and create a more holistic society and individual self, and bring that long needed healing. All right, so let's there was a bit more on October the 30th. The moon over here will trine Venus. Venus in her own sign still. This is really creative. This is really creative ideas, air signs. This is magical. So, and remember that Venus is near the end of her morning star cycle, which is often associated with kind of war. Then she's going to disappear for like over 50 days. And then she's going to be evening star, which is more love goddess. So more on that later. And then Mercury in Sagittarius will sextile Pluto. So really deep look at the shadow, but also at the inner gold, digging up that inner gold. And Mercury will oppose Sedna. So big changes, big ideas about what needs to change, but also could be big news about things that are changing. Oh, and then we finish the day with the moon over here in Aquarius will sextile these two, Chiron and Eris. And then we move on to Friday, the 31st. Halloween's on a Friday. How handy for trick-or-treating, except I'll be traveling, so we won't be here. So don't come to my house for candy. So the moon is finishing up its journey in Aquarius, first of all. And so we're at PM here. So, you know, it actually early on the 31st, the moon will square off to Mars in Scorpio. And the moon, as it does from Aquarius, remember, is making all these opening aspects to these planets over here, the personal ones, and saying action, take action for the future, do it, dig deep. Then the moon enters the sign of Pisces for a couple of days, and things get a bit more empathic and flowy, and you know, there may be some sadness and grief and need to surrender and let go of a lot of the things that have been revealed. I think we're going to find out things about, you know, people we like as well. So, you know, this is not just about people we like or that are on our sides. And it could happen in personal life a bit too. But then the moon again will run the gamut of aspecting a lot of these slower moving planets. So the moon will square off to Uranus as it moves in, and will make a semi-sextile to Pluto, and will make a water trine to Haumea over here. Regeneration happens over and over every month, pushing us inexorably forward. Then the moon will square Mercury, and Mercury, you know, it's making a T-square. Your perceptions are going to shift wildly. Okay. And then the sun over here in Scorpio will square off to Pallas Athena, helping us to dig deep and co-create this future and stand in our personal power. And the moon over here will square off to Hecate, and then Juno, and then Vesta. So, you know, there's a lot of change, mutable energies here. Once the moon hits Pisces, and we've got more energy in mutable signs because Neptune has moved back into Pisces. Sorry, into Pisces is mutable. And then Mercury's moved into Sagittarius. Now when the moon activates that, we're getting a lot of this mutable change, changing ideas, changing perceptions, all that kind of thing. And then the moon later in the day will come up and will make that water trine to the sun. All right. And that is the last major aspect before the next full moon. So the energy is really picking up now, right? The moon's got huge light. Then the moon after that will move forward, and we'll look at that in a minute. It's quite the powerful night for Halloween, though. This is like, woo. Anyway, Venus over here will sextile Vesta, which I love because this is really kind of saying vision the future by going into your inner flame and seeing what your inner desires are. But then the moon will come up and conjunct the North Node and conjunct Nessus. Okay, and that's on November. That's actually on November the 1st. Let's change the day. There was not a break in my thing. So here's the moon on November the 1st. So we're on the last day of the week we're looking at. The moon conjuncts the North Node, which is where we're heading. This is towards that more interconnected kind of energy, realizing that everything is interconnected, understanding that more and more at a cellular level, I'm going to say, feeling it more, just knowing it more. And then the moon will conjunct Nessus, and that is at the degree of the North Node right through the eclipses. So we had those eclipses going back. The eclipses were on September the 7th and the 21st. But that whole eclipse period, things are going to coming to light. And now we're going to kind of feel the effects of what was begun on the eclipses and about what's being revealed and what we need to purge and take out, what trash we need to take out in so many ways. So only a couple more aspects, I think. No, that's it actually. That's it for the week. We'll look at the cards. And we'll look at the full reading of the cards and how funny that week. Start with the sun. This is your essence. This is your essence. Aries, you are being asked to embody your true essence. Let me see if the book had anything else to say that I didn't say last week, because we've had that same card twice. Sorry, just let me get the sun. Here she is. So it's our center, and this is I am joy. I did say that last time. This is joy. This is about finding your inner light of spiritual energy, radiance, and wholeness, and wrapping yourself in the warmth of love, deep joy, and positivity. This is saying the sun is shining on you, your vitality, your self-confidence, your inner strength, and optimism has an opportunity to be at an all-time high if you work with these energies. And so this is we are illuminated. But we also had the Hermit, interestingly. So let me go to the Hermit. This is Asterion, but this is not, this is your inner light, right? So it's kind of going with the sun. So the place where light and dark begin to touch is where the miracles arise. And this is within you. This is doing shadow work, but this is integrating the shadow. This is making friends with your shadow in a way. This is kind of coming into that yin yang sense of balance within you, that you are both light and dark, and feeling and rationality and all the things. But let me read you this other quote from Wendell Berry. To go in the dark with a light is to know the light. To know the dark, go dark. Go without light and find that the dark too blooms and sings and is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. I'm not afraid of the dark personally, so don't be. Ace of Cups. This is the end of the week. This is where we start the next week. I am tender. This is the waters of life. And remember, we've got that whole water grand trine going on. And the moon in Pisces too, right? So I went down in the afternoon to the sea, which held me until I grew easy. And that's Mary Oliver. And then another quote from Khalil Gibran. In one drop of water are found all the secrets of the oceans. In one aspect of you are found all the aspects of existence. And the ace is new beginnings. This is the waters of life, and water is life, right? Good things are coming, people. I keep telling you. And you know, yeah. I forgot to look at the symbols, but you could also look at that other video, but I'm just going to mention them. In last week's week ahead forecast, we had the Orphic egg in one of the symbols. And the symbol for 7 Aquarius, where we had that first quarter moon, is child born of an eggshell. So we get that, and now we're being born over and over, because that 6 Aquarius keeps being activated over and over again. Go and watch it. But this is a new United States being born too. So the omega symbol was someone turns back and looks again and the mountain has disappeared. It's almost like you've climbed the mountain and you thought it was so insurmountable and you've kept going, but suddenly you're kind of free of that mountain. Even the most deeply entrenched beliefs and ways of being are capable of being changed when we are truly ready to let go of them. It all depends on focus and belief. Get that book, Mind Magic. Okay. And then the Chandra symbol is a woman burning a book on black magic. Here is an attempt to protect others from negativity by attempting to deny or ignore it. This degree has strong attitudes concerning what is right and wrong. And one of the best results of this is that it provokes others to consider more deeply such moral questions. In the end, though, must come the realization that even negativity can be a tool for evolution. Hold that thought. Love you.